Hi, everybody. My name is Lee Boonstra. I work as a customer engineer for Google from the Amsterdam office. And you will see me mostly visiting banks and insurances, as we at Google, we divide our teams in pods. And they asked me, like, Lee, would you like to go to Paris to give this presentation about extending G Suite functionalities with business applications? And I said, like, yeah, that is sure. I'm a developer. I love to share my knowledge about, building cool apps. So, yes, I like to go to Paris. Are there any developers here in the room? A few. How many people have ever seen code or read code? Like some more, right? Okay, so this will be a technical session, but I'm going to share you all the secrets on how you can build applications with the use of G Suite. And typically, there are two ways in how you can build applications with G Suite. You can take the app script approach. That means, like, I'm staying within the G Suite domain, and I put my own code on top of that. So it is within G Suite, let's say docs or sheets, and I put my own code within the doc or sheet, and that way I make it more advanced or more conform my needs. Back in the past, people used to use that, like, for example, in Office, they use macros and Visual Basic that way. We in G Suite, we have app script. So that is one approach. The other approach is, like, I already have my own existing application or my own app, my website, and I like to take G Suite functionalities within my own app. So the benefit is then I'm not internally within the G Suite domain. Now I can be on any domain, and I just move the data from G Suite or the functionalities from G Suite within the app. Now there's actually another way in how you can create applications with G Suite, and that is, maybe you've seen this earlier today in the keynote, that is through App Maker. And I will show you that as well. App Maker is our visual design drag and drop editor, where you very quickly can create apps. You don't need to be a developer to create applications. So for the people that earlier said, like, I've never seen code before, you guys can create apps as well. Now, after this all, I will hand it over to Laura from Lumaps, and she will explain what they did with their company, what kind of applications they created. So very exciting. All right. Let's start with the first approach, the app script approach. App script, that is serverless JavaScript runtime for G Suite. That means serverless. That means not that there are no servers, because there are servers, but they are somewhere in a Google data center, and we just don't care about that. But we write JavaScript code, and it's been executed somewhere in a data center. And you can do this to create G Suite add-ons. Now, these add-ons for G Suite, they make use of the OAuth 2 model, so they are secure within the G Suite domain. There is a script editor within G Suite that you can use, where you can start coding your code. And you can make use of triggers. So, for example, when you open a document, then it can start executing code. Now, these add-ons, you can bring them to a marketplace, and then you can download them. You can also download them from the document itself. Then you go to add-ons, get add-ons, and download these add-ons to make it more advanced. Now let's look into the entry points. How can I get started with G Suite? The first entry point, that is like container-bound apps. Now, what is a container-bound app? That means, like, I have one particular Google Doc or one particular sheet, and every time when I open that sheet, I execute my own code, my own app script code. That is a container-bound application. So it's for one particular document. And you can get access to that particular document by running document app.getActiveDocument, spreadsheet app getActiveSpreadsheet, or form app getActiveForm. And it has these triggers, so every time when you execute or when you open the document, you can execute code, or every time when you edit the document, it executes code. And the other approach, that is not for a particular document, that can be any document or any spreadsheet. So you go to scripts.google.com and you get the editor, but your code, what you will execute in this case, can be for any document. So usually what people do is they create like a picker or a drop-down where you can select the document where you want to run your code on top of. Or you create a new document or a new sheet, and you run code on that type of sheet. This is typically done for add-ons. Like when you download an add-on from the marketplace, they probably chose this way. So not a container-bound script. It's just a regular app script application. There is another way on how you can create code in AppScript that is for AdWords. We're not going to cover that. And the last way is through AppMaker. Although it is a visual design drag-and-drop editor, it is still possible to add some code in case you want to create a really an advanced application. We'll see this later. Now, how can you write AppScript code? Let's take a look into an example of how I can create or modify just standard G Suite functionality with my own code. Usually what I do is I go look into the docs. In the docs, they give great guides, and they explain the whole APIs that you can start using. So I always have that open in another tab in the browser. And then I finally start writing code. So in this case, what I'm going to build is a conference app where I have like a shared slides folder, and my coworkers, they can upload a slide in my folder, and every time when people upload slides in the folder, I get an email. It's a very simple example, but I think it's a use case, like getting an email based on when a file was being edited, I think is a very common use case. So we start doing that, we go into Drive, where we create a new AppScript file, and that is the file that we will start use. The next thing is we need this slides folder where people will upload the files in. And to do that, we need to make sure that it's shared. So within your Drive, you can say, like, OK, this is a shared folder. You right-click it. You set a link sharing on. And you usually get a pop-up. And it also tells you the ID of the folder that will be shared. And that is the ID that we need to reference in our code, so that our code knows, like, OK, this is the folder that we need to start monitoring. So there you go. I start writing a variable with the ID of the folder. Now the next thing is I start writing some logics here. And the first thing that I'm doing here is I say, like, OK, that folder, I'll take that folder, and I'll get a real folder object. And from that folder object, I'll want to loop through all the files that are in this folder. And I save that to a variable. This will be an array. So later I can loop through that array and start doing things. I create another variable called props. And props in this case is like a very little store where you can store data in. It's like a persistent layers. It's very simple, but it's like a way how you can save files even after you close the document, that you still can store some information there. And we need to store information because I need to mark if I have seen this slide before or not. Because I don't want to have, by the end of the month, hundreds of emails because it starts emailing out the same files every time. All right. I create a variable new files array. So here I will say, like, flag it, like, OK, this file is new. And then I start looping through all the files that are in the shared slides folder. And here comes the trick. I say, like, OK, if I have nothing in my prop store, so if I have nothing stored or saved yet, then I'm going to create a key in this store that references the file that I am viewing right now. And the reason why I'll do that is so next time I will skip this. But if you don't skip it, then it adds it to the new files array. And when it comes to the new files array, then that's the last thing that it does. It's like, OK, there are new files. New slides have been uploaded. I need to email these slides. That is what Gmail app does. This is Google Gmail API. This is standard integrated within Google Apps Script. You can start making use of these API calls. You don't need to download anything or start authenticating anything because it's all standard there. OK, so within 20 lines, I created this functionality. I can start playing the functionality. I run the play button. I say execute the process function. And yeah, I'm good to go, right? I make sure that I have logging enabled, so every time when something will be emailed, I will also get a log message. I can do simple logging, that is just with logger.log. But I can also do more advanced logging, and that goes through the Google Cloud Stack driver. So if you really want to have like row numbers and so, yeah, then the stack driver is much, much nicer. There you see, this is the email, how it will look like in my Gmail yeah, when I get the slides being emailed to me. Now, there was one thing that I did. I executed the process function once, just for testing purposes. But what I need to do is I need to have this run in the background, so that every time when somebody uploads a slide, that I get the email. So to do that, you need triggers. I'm going to set up a project trigger. And you see, this is my first code that I created. So there is no trigger created yet. So I click on that link. And then it says, like, yeah, you need to authenticate first. We need authorization. This is secure. We don't want everybody to get access to these Gmail APIs without giving the right permissions for it. It's all A2. So we need to review the permissions. And that's usually this is all out of the box. It happens for you. So you get this pop-up, and then I say, OK, I am Lee, and I like to retrieve emails through my Gmail. So I authorize Gmail in this case. And I also give you access to my slides folder, which is in Drive. So I allow that. Now I can finally set up the triggers. And what I'm doing here is I create a time-driven trigger that runs in the background every 5 minutes. And then I get the email. Right. Now, in case you think, like, oh, this app script, I'd like to try out with that, go ahead. There are actually some extras coming soon. We will have support for Gmail add-ons. So if you want to extend on top of Gmail, that is possible to AppScript. We will have support for slides, so that you can extend on top of slides. If you're a heavy slides user, it might be nice that you can put your own functionalities on top of that. If you want to try that out, there is an early access program for this. So you can go to this URL, and then you can sign up, and you can start playing around with that. And also what's coming soon, those are mobile add-ons. So that add-ons also run on a mobile phone. That's pretty cool. Now, let's take a look into the second approach, where I said, like, this is the approach where you have your own application, and you want to integrate Google data or G Suite data or G Suite functionalities within your own app. So your own app on your own website, for example. And you can do that through the Google APIs. Google has lots of client SDKs for you. So whether you're a Java developer or PHP developer or Go or Python or like me, JavaScript and Node.js, yeah, you can download all these SDKs from the website. They're all there. And such an SDK, they contain all the Google endpoints. So for all Google products, there are SDKs available. So if you think, like, I like Google Maps, yeah, you can extend your own applications with Google Maps. Or you can extend your own applications with G Suite, with Gmail or Google Docs functionalities. This is all integrated within these client SDKs. So let's look into an example how you would do this. Like I said already, I am a Node.js developer, so I would prefer Node. So what I do is I go to the Node package manager page, and I start downloading the Google API. And then the next thing that you need to do is you need to go to the Google Cloud control panel, and then you look for that particular API that you want to make use of. So in my case, I'm going to create a Gmail application. So I need to enable the Gmail API within my Cloud Console. This way, I can monitor, and I can also see, like, how many times people have been using my Gmail APIs. So you enable that in the console. The next thing is you need to set up credentials. This is a very similar process as if you would create applications in GCP. So you create a service account, and you can download a JSON key on your machine. And for the Gmail API and for probably all the other APIs, then you start writing code. So where in AppScript it went out of the box, the all-out functionality, here we need to trigger that with code. And the way how all-out 2 works in general is like you have this key. And with that key, you will log into your Google account. So you get just a Google pop-up. You get a Google pop-up when you go to a particular URL. So usually in your application, you create a button. It says, like, set up this functionality. You might remember that from applications on your mobile phone that make use of Google. And usually it opens a Google page in the background with a Google login. You need to log in into your Google account. And what happens in the background is, after you logged into that Google account, they will redirect you to another page. But they have this token being generated, and that token will be written down on your device, or it will be written down on your machine. And that is a bearer token that later on will give you access to your Gmail API or to your Google APIs. And you usually set it up with an expiry date. So for a certain time frame, you can get access to that API without going through this process and by logging into Google every time. Here you can see an example code. Now this is already a little bit more trickier, but honestly it wasn't that difficult because I just copied it from the Google Docs site. They have this example of an OAuth flow, and I could just copy paste it and it works. But what it says, basically it says download, I use the Node.js Google API. I need to define the scopes. So in this case I'm making use of Gmail, so I manually need to say this is the Gmail scope. Where in AppScript it automatically showed up in the pop-up. Here I need to type it and tell Google, this is the scope that I want to use. I also need to specify the path where on my machine the token will be stored. And then I just copied over the methods that will take care of the authorization, and it will work out of the box. And then you can start using Gmail code. And Gmail code that could look like this. For example, you say gmail.users.messages.list. I specify my authentication, that is the object that was saved on my machine. I tell who is the user ID that I want to read the Gmail logics from. Well, in this case, that's me. And what am I querying? I'm querying, I want to read all the unread email. So I want to get that, and I get that here. If it went wrong, it will log it. But if it says OK, I will save it to the emails variable. And it, in this case, contains email IDs. And I could look through those array with IDs and get the full email bodies. And you can display an email. I use this code actually for playing around with my Google Home, that Google Home can read up my emails. So I did it this way. Now, if you want to make use of these kind of stuff, there are APIs for G Suite for every G Suite product. So I mentioned Gmail, but there are APIs for Contacts API, for Sheets, for Sites, for, you name it, everything. All right. Now, we have seen App Maker and we have seen Google APIs. Now, let's take a look into our App Maker. App Maker, this is our visual design editor. So you don't need to be a developer to create Google applications. You can very quickly drag and drop it. It's a SaaS application. That means that you go to App Maker in your browser, and it opens it in the browser, and you can start making use of it. It has a bunch of benefits. I mean, obviously, it's very a fast way to create applications this way, because you drag and drop components on the stage. But it also has data binding, which means that if I create data in my application, and then you would define a model. Let's say a model would be a car. Let's say I'm going to collect car information in my app. And then if you would define a car model, you would write out the properties of a car, which is number of wheels, the color, the brand. So you define the structure of your object in a model. And because of automatically data binding, it recognizes those data. So if you drag view components on the stage, like a table or a grid or a chart, it will automatically recognize the models that belong to it and automatically show it. You don't need to code anything for that. It's nicely integrated within the G Suite domain. You can make use of Cloud SQL. So the GCP Cloud SQL, you can implement it in your apps. But if you don't have GCP Cloud SQL and you just want to make use of G Suite its own, you can also just store the data in Google Drive. And it's secure because it's within the Google domain, so all the security rules are applied on what's been whitelisted to G Suite itself. So this is not a solution for creating apps for the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store. No, this is more a solution for internal applications, like an internal HR application or an internal CRM or tracking applications. There are lots of reasons why businesses need internal apps that run within their own firewall. And this time, they don't need to hire developers to build these stuff. No, they can do it themselves. They can prototype it quickly, or they can even build full live applications. So you don't need to be a developer to make use of it. It's point and click, so you can drag and drop all the components. It supports by open standards, so it makes use of HTML5, so JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. And it also has the nice material design look and feel. So your applications really look like Android apps. Really nice. Now, you have me here talking about this. Now, let me give you a demo so I can show you how this works. So can we switch to my machine, please? Cool. So what you see here, this is the website this is the SaaS application of AppMaker. And I recorded it myself, so I make sure that I can do it within the time frame. The first thing that I'm doing here is I am changing the application name. Now, what kind of application are we creating? We're creating a to-do application. I think that's the most common application for when you're new. So I create this application. Now I'm going to select a data model or data object. Like I said, you can save data in Drive, or you can save data in Google Cloud SQL. I'm going to save data in the Google Drive. So I select the model in the Google Drive. Let's do that. There are other ways as well, but we're using just Drive. So I select Drive, and I click Next. Now I give a model name. So in this case, the model will be tasks. A task was a to-do application. I can start creating fields for a task. Now, what kind of fields do I need? I need to have a task name. So I create a string field for task. I need another field. In this case, I need a field for date, because I need to say like by when this task needs to be done. So it's in this case a date field. I create another field. This is a Boolean field to mark if the task is completed, yes or no. So I call the task field completed. It's a Boolean. All right. I switch back to the page. This is the stage. I rename it. This will be the main page. So I set it to main. I can start dragging widgets on the stage. So in this case, I'm dragging a grid component. That's like a little table. Did you see? It also recognized my model, my task model, out of the box. This is true data binding. So it already knows, like, OK, this table will save task data. OK. I drag it on the stage, and you can change the column headers if you want. So I don't do that right now. I'm going to select another component on the stage. And in this case, it's a form. And this will be the view/edit form. So every time when I select a task in my grid, then I want to showcase in this form like the information about this task. And what you see what I'm doing now is I'm resizing everything so that it's like nicely great sizes. I can drag another button on the stage. This button is for when I create new tasks. And when I want to create a new task, what I want to do is I want to show a pop-up where I can start typing. So I give the button the name Add. Automatically, if you switch the style from the button and the button is called Add, then it comes with this nice plus icon. So that already looks like nice material design-ish. And now I can start creating another page. This will be the pop-up, so for creating a new task. Yes. OK. I'll start dragging another component on the screen. And in this case, it's a form. This is the add form for creating new task data. Again, through data binding, it recognizes the model. I'm just changing the layout here. So I want to make it like a little small. I want to make the model, or the pop-up also small, so that it's nicely in the center of my page. I can change the spacing here. And I set the width. Right. Okay. Now, I need another button. In this case, I want to close the dialog. So when I am not filling in any task data, I should be also able to remove the pop-up. So I'm dragging another button on the stage. I give it the name close. Then it recognizes the cross icon. And what I'm doing here is I'm binding an action. So what I did is I said I want to bind the close action on the pop-up so that it automatically knows that it needs to close the pop-up. There's no code here, just selecting it because AppMaker understands that that's just a common thing to do for a pop-up. Yeah. OK. I go back to the main screen. I need to open the pop-up as well. So I need to add also some functionality here. I can say open dialog. And then which dialog? Well, that's the add screen. I see that I gave it the wrong name. I called it edit. It should be add. So I'm changing that back to add. And then I need to make sure that also when you have the action, that the action points to the right object. So in this case, I need to say the on click will be on add page. Yes. So I'm setting it there, open dialog for the add page. Cool. Now, I guess I'm done now. I can hit the preview button. And what it does, it opens now my browser screen. If it's the first time when you do this, then you'll see, again, you will see a Google pop-up where you need to give the right permissions. I did it already. But here you can see the application running live. And yeah, you see, these are like the components. I can start editing data in it. It created new tasks. And yeah, when I select a task, I can, you see that it's been highlighted in the view screen, and I can hit completed, and it marks it also in the grid that it was completed. So that is true data binding. This took me about 5 minutes, and again, you've seen there's not much coding here. Let me switch back to my slides. Yeah. So what I just did, there was no coding involved, but I can imagine that there are use cases that you do want to write AppScript code, or you do want to write JavaScript code, maybe because you want to make use of other Google APIs, like Gmail, for example, and you want to integrate that in your apps. That is possible. There is a script editor in AppsMaker, and you can start writing your code. This can be AppScript code. So again, the serverless JavaScript that runs somewhere in the Google data center. Or it can be normal JavaScript code, and then it runs in the browser. All right. In case you think like, oh, I'd like to try this out, this AppMaker, you can sign up for the early access program. So you can start playing around with this and create your own applications. Just go to this URL, and I think somebody will approve it. And yeah, then you can start using AppMaker within your own G Suite domain. And with this, I like it to hand it over to Laura from LoomApps, because they created lots of nice business applications as well. Give me a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. So I'm Laura. I'm Marketing Operations Manager at LoomApps, and I'm very excited to be here. First of all, what is LoomApps? LoomApps, in a nutshell, is a social intranet recommended by Google. It's a combination of an intranet and a social network. We fully integrate with G Suite, and you can use LoomApps on any mobile device. And we have 2 core features that are pretty cool. We have a user directory, and we have personalized content, meaning that the user gets the right content at the right time, and it gets delivered to the right person. So more than words, I'm going to show you a quick video.
Imagine you could connect all employees in a smart intranet. That is LoomApps. LoomApps is a completely reimagined enterprise portal that delivers the right content to the right people at the right time. LoomApps brings all your communication together in one place. Corporate news, profiled information, key figures, and social media feeds. It's all there. It's about having access to your Google Apps in one click. A quick glance at your emails or calendar let you know what's important in your working day. We know how valuable your business applications are. So all the tools you already use integrate directly into a dashboard. A global search puts what you're looking for in your hands, instantly. Connecting with the right people has never been easier. Reach out and start working together. LumApps notifies you when an item needs your attention and shows important topics directly in your activity stream. Follow people and join projects to stay informed in real time. And share ideas whenever you want. With the power of Google Analytics, you can measure the adoption to make sure all employees love their portal. Spread your corporate culture by designing a place that fits your brand identity. Join hundreds of companies who have already transformed the way they work with LumApps.
So why LumApps? What makes LumApps so special? First of all, let's go back to our users and our customers. What are they telling us? If you work for a big organization, you work in IT, you're a communications specialist, what are the pain points that you're going to face when using an intranet and when dealing with intranet? First of all, the interaction capabilities are very, very limited with my intranet platform. If you think of what is the purpose of an intranet, it's a database, so you want to find the right documents, the right people, but you also want to start a conversation with your employees and start just developing a sense of community. So if there's no interaction capability, you have a problem. Next pain point is I can't use my intranet on mobile devices. This is specifically true for organizations that work in retail or distribution or people who work remotely. If they can't access and use your intranet from mobile devices, you have a problem. The next problem is pretty generic and common. It's employees rarely use my intranet. Turns out maybe I can't use my intranet on mobile devices, or it's currently not being used. Next problem is my intranet is just a page of links. So it's very good if you're looking for the right document, but how can I engage my employees and exchange with them? Next pain point is pretty critical. Is the look and feel of my intranet is old and outdated. It's specifically true for companies who are very innovative. So from the outside, you want to reflect an image of being an innovative company. But if you're from the inside, you're not innovative, then you have a problem. You want to have a platform that's modern and that has a modern look and feel. The search function is broken. Could be a problem if I'm looking for a person, if I'm looking for a document that's really critical for my project or for my business. The last pain point is also really, really important is you're going to have businesses who are going to want to have all their applications in one place. So if my intranet does not integrate all the business apps and all the apps that are very, very critical for all my entities, turns out my intranet is not going to be used as well. So we've covered the problems, and now we come to the solution. The solution is LumApps. You have three key points. LumApp is the unique digital workplace where a user gets delivered the right content to the right person at the right time. We integrate with G Suite very deeply, and you also have the social collaborative functions integrated in the platform. Besides those 3 points, LumApps is responsive, meaning that you have the same quality of information on any device that you're connecting to. It's multilingual in the sense that the content is displayed with the language of the connected user. You can customize LumApps to your liking with a personalized graphical identity, depending on your brand identity as well. And if you're an intranet project leader, you might want to analyze the way people use your platform and react. So that's when the analytic features of LumApps comes in. I'm going to go over 4 simple use cases to show you what our customers are doing with LumApps. The first customer is Veolia. So Veolia is our first historical customer. It's a French international company. They have activities around energy and utilities, and they have external growth. They grow externally a lot. So they need to develop a sense of belonging and a sense of community to all their employees. So we created the first internet portal for them named One Veolia. One Veolia means one unique entry point to have a one-to-one conversation with every Veolia employee. One also means a single place to get corporate information and local information. They've also developed a top 500 portal dedicated to the top 500 managers, where they publish premium information, so they allow sensitive, relevant, and critical content to be delivered to the top 500 managers. And they also want to increase the engagement of those top 500 managers. One of our other customers is also another industrial giant. It's Valeo. Valeo is the leader in auto parts manufacturing. And they're also early adopters of innovative cloud technologies. So they go Google in 2007, and they also went all digital. They created 18,000 Google sites. So they were looking for a best-in-class application in terms of intranet projects. And so they chose LumApps for its modern look and feel. They also really like the profiling functionality, which I've told you earlier about providing the right content to the right person at the right time. They've created a top 300 management corporate portal, and they also use the social capabilities of LumApps in the sense that they've created a collaborative platform for all the R&D teams. No matter where you are in the world, you have all the information within this community. We change worlds. We go to Coperle. Coperle is a French agricultural cooperative. Cooperative means that people are scattered around the territory, so you need to create engagement with a sense of community. And they want to drive traffic to their intranet, and they've used two drivers, which are pretty cool. They've used our users directory, which means that you can launch, for example, from the users directory function, you can launch a Hangout or send an email directly from someone's profile. All the changes that you make are also directly synced with Google. They've also used a second driver to drive traffic to their intranet, internal ads. So they've developed an internal Le Bon Coin or internal eBay to let other employees know that they're selling their car or they're selling their real estate. And they've also developed internal ads for carpooling if they want to share rides with other employees. And the last use case I want to present is Etam. So you probably all know this brand. It's a fashion or a French clothing retailer. They have more than 4,000 stores in 52 countries. So the information is spread in field operation, and there's no real connection to corporate headquarters. They go Google, and they need to extend the use of Google applications. They want to go further in collaboration. So they choose LumApps, and they choose LumApps because we integrate fully with all Google applications. They also choose LumApps because in every store you have 2 to 3 tablets that the employees in the stores use. So they were particularly sensitive to the fact that we integrate also any mobile device. They've chosen a name for the intranet, which is called l'Intra. And l'Intra is dedicated for stores, and it has 4 different spaces. For example, there's a space for brand. There's a space also for the corporate headquarters, speaking to the field operations. So I thought I would just show you with a visual summary what LumApps does. So you have all the devices that we connect at the center. We integrate the business apps. You get corporate and local news delivered directly to your computer, your tablet, or your smartphone. You have this user directory with an organizational chart also embedded, the social and community and the communities that you can create, and also integration with Google Drive. Now we know what we sell, you know our product. I thought I would share something about who we are and what's our story. So this is us. We're about 70 people and constantly growing. We have offices in Paris, London, New York, San Francisco, and we recently opened Austin and Tokyo. We have a worldwide partners network, and this year we raised funds. We raised $8 million, and this is an article that was published last week in Les Echos. You can find it online, and it explains our philosophy, our strategy, and you can also get to know our founders. We started our business in 2015 by addressing G Suite customers. In 2016, we were lucky enough to be officially recommended for G Suite by Google. What does it mean to be officially recommended by Google? It means that Google and LumApps product teams are working together to align their product roadmaps. It also means that LumApps is built on the Google Cloud Platform, and we meet Google standards in terms of security. And it means that LumApps provide a full integration with G Suite, and this full integration is certified by Google itself. And in 2017, during the Google Cloud Summit in San Francisco, we received the Solution Innovation of the Year award. So from this slide, you can see that we have a whole bunch of customers. What's important to note is that we address all sizes, all industries, and we can also address companies that are present globally. We have over 35% market share now in France, and today around 1.4 million people use LumApps daily. So that's it for me. If you want to know more, you can write me an email, or you can go to our booth. We're booth number 5. It's right across the hall. And also, one last cool feature is that you can download LumApps from the Google Marketplace for a free trial. So you can test, try, and have fun with the product for 30 days. So you should go and check it out. Thank you for your time. Thanks.